In the previous chapter, we witnessed Dracula's terrifying attack on Mina Harker, and Van Helsing's group made a desperate decision to begin their final hunt. In this chapter, they set out to destroy Dracula's hidden resting places, hoping to save Mina before the curse takes complete control. Let's dive into Dr. Seward's diary, October 3rd. Dr. Seward writes down everything that happened. He does not want to forget even one small detail. When he enters Renfield's room, he finds Renfield lying on the floor in a pool of blood. Renfield's face is badly bruised, and one side of his body cannot move. It looks like his back or neck is badly injured. The hospital attendant is confused. He cannot understand how Renfield could have hurt himself so badly. Dr. Seward immediately sends for Professor Van Helsing. Van Helsing quickly arrives with his medical tools. After examining Renfield, he discovers that the real injury is a serious skull fracture. Blood is putting dangerous pressure on Renfield's brain. Arthur and Quincy also arrive after hearing about the accident. They quietly wait while Van Helsing prepares for emergency brain surgery. The room is silent and tense. Everyone fears that Renfield may die before he can reveal something important. Van Helsing decides there is no more time to wait. He performs the operation immediately. After the surgery, Renfield slowly opens his eyes. At first, he thinks everything was only a bad dream. But then he realizes it was all real. Renfield asks for water and brandy because he knows he is dying. Before his death, he wants to tell everyone the truth. Renfield says that after Dr. Seward left him, Dracula came to his window in the form of mist. This time Dracula looked solid and angry. He smiled with his sharp white teeth and silently promised Renfield many lives if he obeyed him. Dracula showed him huge flies, strange moths, and finally thousands of red-eyed rats. The rats stopped when Dracula raised his hand. Renfield finally opened the window and invited Dracula inside, calling him, "Come in, Lord and Master." The next day, Dracula ignored Renfield. Later, Dracula entered again without asking permission. Renfield noticed that Dracula smelled different. He suddenly felt that Mina Harker had somehow been involved. Renfield explains that when Mina visited him earlier, she looked pale and weak, as if much of her blood had been taken. He became angry after realizing Dracula was feeding on her. When Dracula returned that night, Renfield fought him with all his strength to stop him from hurting Mina again. For a moment, Renfield believed he might win, but Dracula looked directly into his eyes. Renfield instantly became weak. Dracula lifted him high into the air and threw him violently onto the floor, breaking his skull and badly injuring him. After hearing Renfield's story, Van Helsing finally understands the terrible truth. Dracula is inside the house. Everyone quickly grabs their weapons, knowing they must act immediately before it is too late. Van Helsing tells everyone that they are facing a very dangerous enemy. They hurry to Mina Harker's room. The door is locked. Van Helsing says they must break it open because Mina may be in danger. Dr. Seward, Arthur, and Quincy push hard against the door. It bursts open with a loud crash. Inside the room, they see a terrible sight. Jonathan Harker is lying on the bed, unconscious, and breathing heavily. Mina is kneeling on the bed. Count Dracula is standing beside her. Dracula holds Mina's hands tightly with one hand, and with the other he forces her face down against his chest. Blood is running from a wound on Dracula's chest, and Mina's nightdress is stained with blood. The scene looks horrible, like someone forcing an animal to drink. When Dracula sees them, his eyes burn with rage. He jumps toward them. Van Helsing quickly holds up the sacred wafer, and the others raise their crucifixes. Dracula suddenly stops and shrinks back in fear. A dark cloud covers the moon. When Quincy lights a match, Dracula has disappeared into mist and escaped under the door. Mina screams in terror. Blood is still flowing from the wound on her neck. Van Helsing says that Jonathan has been placed into a vampire-like sleep. He wakes Jonathan by splashing cold water on his face. Jonathan wakes and is shocked when he sees Mina covered in blood. He wants to chase Dracula, but Mina begs him not to leave her. Van Helsing calms them and tells them they are safe for the moment because the crucifix is near them. Mina looks at the blood on Jonathan's robe and cries, "Unclean, unclean. I must not touch him or kiss him anymore." She fears that she has become dangerous to her husband, but Jonathan holds her tightly and says nothing will ever separate them. Arthur then reports that Dracula has burned all of Dr. Seward's notes and phonograph recordings. He also reveals that Renfield is dead. Quincy says he saw a bat flying westward before dawn, so Dracula has escaped to another hiding place. Finally, Van Helsing gently asks Mina to tell them exactly what happened. Mina explains that she drank the sleeping medicine but could not sleep easily. Terrible thoughts filled her mind. Later she awoke and saw white mist in the room. Jonathan was sleeping so deeply that she could not wake him. Then the mist changed into the figure of a tall man dressed in black. Mina immediately recognized him, Count Dracula. He had a pale face, red lips, sharp white teeth, red eyes, and the scar on his forehead. Mina says she wanted to scream, but she was too terrified to move. The passage ends just as Dracula begins to speak to her. Dracula quietly warns Mina, "Be silent. If you make a sound, I will kill Jonathan." Mina is terrified. She cannot move or cry for help. Dracula holds her tightly and bites her neck again to drink her blood. Mina says she feels weak and dizzy. She cannot stop him because of Dracula's supernatural power over his victims. After drinking her blood, Dracula smiles cruelly. Then he tells Mina that she and her friends tried to defeat him, but they have failed. He says he has defeated kings and armies for hundreds of years, so defeating them is easy for him. Dracula tells Mina, "You are now part of me. My blood is your blood. You will answer when I call you." Then he tears open his own chest with his sharp nails. Blood flows from the wound. He forces Mina to drink his blood. Mina has no choice. She cries to God, asking why this terrible thing has happened to her. She rubs her lips, trying to wipe away what Dracula forced her to do. As Mina finishes telling her story, the sun begins to rise. The room slowly becomes brighter. Jonathan says nothing. His face becomes pale and full of sorrow as he realizes everything that happened. The group decides that someone will always stay with Jonathan and Mina to protect them. Dr. Seward ends his diary with a sad thought. The sun rises today over the unhappiest house in the whole world. Jonathan Harker writes in his diary because he feels that if he stops writing, he might lose his mind. He says everyone must eat breakfast first because Van Helsing believes they will need all their strength for the difficult day ahead. Jonathan promises to write down every detail because even small clues may help them defeat Dracula. Mina encourages everyone to keep faith in God, even during their darkest time. Dr. Seward explains what happened to Renfield. The hospital attendant heard loud voices. Then he heard Renfield cry, "God! God! God!" A loud crash followed. When the attendant entered the room, Renfield was lying dead on the floor with a broken neck. The group knows Dracula killed him. but they also know nobody would believe the truth, so Dr. Seward decides that the official report will say Renfield died in an accident. The group decides not to hide anything from Mina anymore. Mina agrees. She says she has already suffered the worst pain possible, so she wants to know the whole truth. Van Helsing asks her an important question. Are you afraid that you may become dangerous to the people you love? Mina calmly answers, if I ever become a danger to them, I will die. Van Helsing is shocked. He tells Mina she must never kill herself. If she dies before Dracula is destroyed, she could become an undead vampire just like him. Instead, she must stay alive and keep fighting until Dracula is completely destroyed. Mina bravely promises that she will live and continue fighting. Van Helsing explains that Dracula still has many boxes of earth hidden around London. These boxes are Dracula's safe places. During the daytime, Dracula cannot change into mist or disappear whenever he wants, so today is their best chance to destroy all of his hiding places. The first place they will search is Dracula's house in Piccadilly. Van Helsing believes they may find important papers, keys, and clues there. Jonathan wants to rush there immediately, but Van Helsing tells him to be patient. He says the right plan is better than acting too quickly. Jonathan asks how they will get inside Dracula's house. Van Helsing suggests hiring a locksmith to open the door. If everything looks legal and normal, the police will not interfere. Lord Godalming offers horses and carriages. Quincy Morris suggests using ordinary cabs instead so they do not attract attention. Everyone agrees with Quincy's idea. Mina begins helping the group plan their mission. Jonathan notices she is becoming very pale and weak. He quietly worries that she may slowly become like Lucy. When the group discusses who should stay with Mina, Jonathan wants to protect her himself, but Mina refuses. She says everyone is needed to defeat Dracula. She tells Jonathan, "Go. God can protect me." Jonathan finally agrees. Van Helsing reminds Jonathan that Dracula drank a lot of blood the previous night, so he will sleep late during the day. When Mina remembers what happened, she begins to cry. Van Helsing feels very sorry for hurting her feelings by mentioning it. Mina forgives him and tells everyone to eat breakfast so they will have enough strength for the dangerous mission. Before leaving, Van Helsing places holy protection around Mina's room so Dracula cannot enter during the daytime. Van Helsing gently places the sacred wafer on Mina's forehead. Suddenly, Mina screams in terrible pain. The sacred wafer burns her skin like hot metal. A painful scar appears on her forehead. Mina cries, "Unclean! Unclean!" She believes the mark shows that Dracula's curse has touched her. Jonathan holds Mina while everyone else quietly cries. Van Helsing comforts her. He tells Mina that one day, when Dracula is finally destroyed, God will remove the mark from her forehead. These words give everyone hope again. The group says goodbye to Mina and travels to Carfax. Inside the old chapel, they find Dracula's boxes of earth. Van Helsing opens each box. He places a piece of the sacred wafer inside every box. This makes the earth holy, so Dracula can never rest there again. When they finish, Van Helsing says that if they can destroy all the other hiding places, Mina may still be saved. Jonathan sees Mina waving from the asylum window as they leave. Lord Godalming and Quincy hire a locksmith. Jonathan, Dr. Seward, and Van Helsing wait nearby in Green Park. The locksmith calmly opens the front door. A policeman walks past but thinks everything is normal. After the locksmith leaves, the others quietly enter the house. The house smells exactly like Carfax. Inside the dining room, they discover 8 boxes of earth, but one box is missing. The group opens every box and places the sacred wafer inside, making them useless to Dracula. Then they search the house. They find property documents for Dracula's houses, letters, paper, and writing supplies, a wash basin with water stained red like blood, a large bunch of keys to Dracula's other houses. Lord Godalming and Quincy take the keys and the addresses. They leave to destroy the remaining boxes hidden in Mileland and Bermondsey. Jonathan, Van Helsing, and Dr. Seward stay inside the Piccadilly house, waiting for either their friends to return, or for Count Dracula himself to appear.